Our next presenter, Dr. José Cordeiro, is chair of the Venezuelan node of the Millennium Project. He's visiting research fellow at the Institute of Developing Economies in Tokyo, and he's founding faculty at Singularity University. Speaking on singularity and immortality, please welcome Dr. José Cordeiro.
My dear red friends, I am connecting from Madrid, Spain, in the middle of this horrible pandemic. And this is my symbol of war, the war against COVID, the war against aging, because this is really a revolution against aging and death. And I will talk about the incredible advances towards the death of death, immortality, and the singularity. Why COVID? Because COVID is the #1 risk factor, aging for COVID and all diseases. You look, the older you are, the higher probability you have of dying. However, COVID is really nothing compared to other pandemics in human history. If we look at the past, the Black Death killed about 200 million people, and the population of the planet was very small at the time. It is estimated that 1/4 of the European population died because of the bubonic plague and then smallpox. The Spanish flu 100 years ago killed up to 100 million people, and incredible, horrible diseases. But now we are doing a lot against COVID, and the US government is investing over $2 trillion, just the US government, $2 trillion against COVID, and billions of dollars from other companies. And this is only the USA. Altogether, the world combined, so far, it is estimated $11 trillion. $11 trillion. Imagine if we put all that money against aging, which is the #1 disease and the cause of all other diseases, because aging is the #1 risk factor in terms of influenza, cancer, Alzheimer's, heart disease. All the other diseases are related to aging. In fact, if we could cure all cancer types, maybe we would get 3 extra years of life. Why? Because something else could get to us. Also, if we could cure all heart diseases, we might get 4 extra years. And if we cure both cancer and heart disease, we get 7 extra years. But that is nothing compared to curing aging, to delaying aging. We can get years and years, decades and decades more by stopping and delaying and reversing aging. As my friend Brian Kennedy has been talking, all these diseases we treat now separately, but we should treat them together, and the center is aging, because aging is the mother of all diseases, is the main cause of all diseases. And we need to cure aging to move from sick care to health care. That is why 3 years ago, I teamed up with another scientist from Cambridge University, and I am also from Cambridge, Massachusetts, where I got my degrees at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And we decided to work together about a book about curing aging that we called in Spanish, La Muerte de la Muerte, the first language it came out. Second, in Portuguese, A Morte da Morte. And now it's coming in 3 other major languages, Chinese, French, and Russian. And next year, in 5 more languages, German, Japanese, Korean, Arabic, and obviously English. So this is incredible because there is so much interest about curing aging and to work towards the death of death. My book was #1 best-selling book in Spain, and #5 also, 1 in paper and 5 in Kindle. In Brazil, in Portuguese, it was also #1 best-selling book. And why is this so important? Again, because people are aging. The populations are growing older and older. Spain actually has the 2nd oldest population in the planet, only after Japan, among the largest countries in the world. Okay, so that is why the situation is so critical in Spain and many other European countries with older populations. But also we have incredible scientists in Spain and all over the world. But in Spain, we have Maria Blasco, who is an expert on cancer and telomerase and telomeres. And she actually wrote the most important paper in history about aging, the hallmarks of aging, with 4 other scientists. 3 of which were Spanish. And she's working towards rejuvenation, at least for mice, and eventually this could be applied to humans. Another Spanish scientist, very famous, Juan Carlos Ispizua Belmonte, who works at Salk Institute in La Jolla, California, he's also working on rejuvenating animals with different methodologies like the Yamanaka factors, and he has been able to rejuvenate mice 40% already. All of these ideas are incredible and they are very new, so new that finally we need to take them into politics. And I did this last year for the first time in Spanish politics. I ran for the European Parliament, and my idea was to use science and technology all the way from artificial intelligence into regenerative medicine, to cure aging, to stop aging, to reverse aging. Let me show you a 1-minute video about part of my campaign so that you know how this is moving forward.
It's about details such as corporation tax rates, subsidies for farming, interminable trade negotiations, and who wrote what in which newspaper. But what if politicians are missing the things that really matter? Economist Robert Solow won the Nobel Prize in Economics for showing that 90% of economic growth comes from technology. Yet the EU's investment in artificial intelligence amounts to less than 1% of agricultural subsidies. What politics needs is people who understand how technology, like artificial intelligence, will develop. José Cordeiro is a technologist with degrees from MIT and a PhD in engineering, who has written best-selling books on how we can use technology as the ultimate force for good in society. Support José as member of the European Parliament this May. He will focus on how we can work together to build a better future for all of us by investing in technology like artificial intelligence, genetics research, and nanotechnology.
So this is one of the ideas of things that we are beginning to work in many different countries to take this into politics. I got several thousand votes in Spain, but we also had groups working in England and in Germany for the first time. Parties to stop aging, to reverse aging. And as my friend Ray Kurzweil has been promoting for over 20 years, he says that by 2045, we will reach the singularity and immortality. So if we make it to 2045, as he says, if you can hang on there until 2045, you will make it into immortality. The idea he promoted in his famous book, The Singularity is Near, where he talks about exponential technologies, exponential change. That book is from 2005. And now he's working on the continuation, which is called The Singularity is Nearer, that will come out next year, where he actually defends his ideas and he talks what has happened in the last 15 years. Basically, he talks about 2 main dates, 2029 and 2045, for the hardware on top and the software on bottom. What will happen in terms of the hardware, nanotechnology and biotechnology? By 2029, we will reach longevity escape velocity, or sometimes called the Methuselarity, the singularity of Methuselah. That if we make it to that point, for every year we live, we will gain an extra year. So basically we can live indefinitely if we make it for the next 10 years, but still aging. And then by 2045, we will have rejuvenation technologies. This is on the hardware side on top. On the software side on bottom, we will reach the Alan Turing test by 2029. That means that you will not know anymore if you are talking to a human or to an artificial intelligence by 2029. And then by 2045, we will reach the technological singularity, when artificial intelligence combined gets the intelligence of all human species together. Why would this happen? Because technology is changing exponentially, faster, smaller, cheaper, and better. I remember when I went to MIT 40 years ago, we had punch cards, IBM punch cards like this, which was 1K of memory, 1K. And we moved in 40 years from 1K to 1 terabyte, 1K to 1 terabyte. So this is incredible. This is billions, trillions of exponential change in a few decades. And this will continue. This will continue, both on the software and on the hardware. For example, what will happen with the brain? We understand that the brain has basically three parts: the reptilian brain, limbic brain, and the neocortex with the human intelligence. But now scientists talk about a exocortex, a new exocortex that will connect our new cortex and will give us super intelligence, will improve, increase, enhance human intelligence, because we will get to have more neurons and synapses, not only naturally, but artificially. This is part of the plan of Elon Musk and his new company, Neuralink, to connect the brain to the internet, to give us super intelligence, to use artificial intelligence in favor of humanity, of humans. This is on the software side, but on the hardware side, biology, let's talk also about the exponential changes. The Human Genome Project began in 1990, and it took 13 years until it finished in 2003. 13 years, and it cost the US government alone $1 billion, and all combined, all governments, $3 billion. $3 billion, 13 years. Today, in 2020, you can sequence your complete genome for a few $100s in a couple of hours. And the estimate is that by 2025, you will sequence your genome in $10 in 1 minute. This is incredible. This is truly exponential, both in terms of cost and in terms of time. And this is moving forward faster and faster. Together, all these disciplines, we also can create new genomes, not only read, but also create new life forms. In 2000, for the first time, scientists created an artificial virus. By 2010, scientists created an artificial bacteria, but bacteria are big and are more complex. And maybe by 2045, we can create an artificial human. We will have the technology to change our human genome, to improve our human genome, and to give us immortality, biological immortality. Also, because today, more and more people are beginning to talk that aging is a disease, but a curable disease that we will cure in the next 2 decades to 3 decades. Why? Because we are proving with animals that we can extend the lifespan of different species, different model animals. Like for mice, we have mice that already live twice as long. Mosquitoes, 4 times as long. Worms, 10 times as long. We basically have today Methuselah worms, Methuselah that live the equivalent of 1,000 human years, 1,000 human years equivalent. But not only that, it is even more interesting that we know that there are immortal cells, like the famous HeLa cells from Henrietta Lacks, a patient who died in 1951, and she was born in 1920. So actually, her cancer cells, which are alive, just became 100 years old this year, 100 years old, and they look like teenagers. They don't look like they are 100 years old. They look like teenagers because they do not age. Cancer discovered how not to age. But not only bad cells like cancer do not age, also the best cells, germ cells, do not age. And this is beautiful. The most important cells needed for reproduction also are biologically immortal. They do not age. On top of that, we also have some small animals like hydras, medusas, and other animals that do not age biologically, and they could live indefinitely forever. And the first life forms in the planet, bacteria, also do not age biologically if they divide symmetrically. So life appeared to live, not to die. The purpose of life is more life, better life. And when people tell me immortality is impossible, I answer, how is it impossible when it already exists? We already have biological immortality of cells and organisms. It already exists. We only need to understand how it happens in biology to improve on it and to apply it to the whole body. My dear friend Aubrey de Grey was a pioneer, and he talked about that over 10 years ago on his book, Ending Aging. At that time, he was called a charlatan. Even the most prestigious science magazine from my alma mater, MIT, the Technology Review, said that he was a charlatan, that he was nuts in 2005. Incredible. They made fun of him. Fortunately, things have changed. And last year, in 2019, the same magazine, the MIT Technology Review, actually said, old age is over. In the cover of the magazine, old age is over if you want it, because we are very close. So these ideas have been developed by my friends, as I mentioned, Ray Kurzweil, talking about the technological singularity, Aubrey de Grey about the methuselarity, and I talk about the energularity, the energy singularity. But these ideas are too revolutionary for many people. And as the famous German philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer said, all truth passes 3 stages. First stage, it is ridiculed. Second stage, it is violently opposed. And third stage, it is accepted as self-evident. Right now, we are in between stages 1 and 2. But I'm pretty sure soon, and certainly by 2045, when we look back to the time today, we will remember these days, we will remember this war, we will remember this revolution against aging, and we will think how barbaric we were today, how horrible was the world today when people died, But again, this will stop. As my friend Ray Kurzweil wrote in his book, Fantastic Voyage, Live Long Enough to Live Forever, he talks about 3 bridges to immortality, 3 bridges. Bridge number 1, in the 2010s, do all the things that your mother told you. Eat well, sleep well, don't drink too much, don't smoke, etc., etc. Bridge 1. Second bridge, biotechnology. The first biotech treatments in the 2020s, just beginning now. And then bridge 3, the first nanotechnology treatments in the 2030s. That will make us reach the 2040s when artificial intelligence will also finally help us solve this problem of rejuvenation. And we will reach immortality supposedly around 2045. As I mentioned, he's talking about that in his newest book, The Singularity is Nearer, coming next year. But not only Ray Kurzweil, because he's not really a biologist or a medical doctor. He's an engineer, expert on computer science, artificial intelligence from MIT, from my alma mater. But there are some scientists, biologists, like David Sinclair, who just wrote a fantastic book last year called Lifespan, Why We Age and Why We Don't Have to Age. I highly recommend it. But also not just him, there are many more books. One that was just released a few days ago called The Longevity Book, and you can read it in internet. It's incredible, 400 pages of all the latest of the latest in longevity research, rejuvenation, and eventually investment opportunities in this area, because the industry is growing from billions into trillions. In 1 decade, the biggest industry in the world will not be technology, will not be energy, will not be food, will not be travel. It will be health rejuvenation technologies, the biggest sector in the world. Also, many other publications like Nature, the famous magazine Nature, announced that in January 2021, next year, they will begin with a new publication called Nature Aging. This is incredible. Nature Aging, really fantastic, because there is so much research that even magazines have to reinvent themselves. But magazines, companies like Google, as we know, they created Calico, California Life Company, a few years ago in order to solve death, because death is a technical problem and it will have a technical solution. But not just Google, also Microsoft. They announced that they plan to solve cancer, because now that we can sequence the human genome, we can discover the mutations that create cancer and to cure them, reverse them, and stop them. Or, as Mark Zuckerberg and his wife, Priscilla Chan, who is a biologist, a medical doctor who studied biology at Harvard, where she met Mark Zuckerberg. They announced that they will donate all their fortune, or 99% of it, which is lots of money, in order to cure all diseases, and that includes aging as the mother of all diseases. But this is so fascinating, so incredible, that the Nobel Prize of Medicine in 2012 was partially given to a Japanese scientist that I went to visit at the University of Kyoto in Japan, who got the Nobel Prize for rejuvenating a cell. He discovered that changing 4 genes, only 4 genes, he can change the age of a cell. And he turned an old cell into a brand new cell, changing 4 genes. So rejuvenation is possible. Nobel Prize of Medicine 2012. And incredible technologies are coming up in all aspects. Now we have epigenetic clocks. They did not exist 10 years ago, but now we can measure biologically also how old we are. And more interestingly, we can reverse the epigenetic age, as this has been done with some animals, and also experiments beginning with humans. We can reverse the epigenetic age. And some of the most incredible technologies which are appearing, like CRISPR. CRISPR will allow us to edit the human genome and to stop many diseases, many mutations, and even reverse aging. And then we also have a brand new set of technologies called senolytics, which is eliminating the old cells. This is beginning, this is just incredible. We talk about all of this in RAADfest, the revolution against aging and death, because this is a revolution. As I like to say, Viva revolución, viva! This is a revolution, and we need all to work together. And for that, I hope that you join our cause, like Project Tipping Point, because we are getting very close to a tipping point where everybody will be in favor, because we will have enough proofs with our technology to reverse aging, even in humans. And you can learn all of it with us, with the Coalition for Radical Life Extension, with RAADfest, including the first age reversal update in human history, scientific age reversal that was presented last year at RAADfest, and that now is growing and it is improving. So we will soon reverse aging, but biologically, not with an internet application, telephone application like Face App, which is a Russian app that can make you young or old. I want to be young, but not with an app, with Face App. I want to be young, but biologically young, thanks to technology. And therefore, we need to meditate. We need to meditate a lot because we have an incredible future ahead. I love to meditate. Hinduism, Buddhism, many different meditation traditions, but we need to think about the future, about our lives, about the world. And remember that there is always yin and yang. There is the good and the bad side of the force. So we need to be careful, we need to do it well. And I want to finish with a fantastic Chinese word. This Chinese word has 2 characters. The first character means danger, but the second character means opportunity. We are in a horrible crisis. In the middle of this pandemic that has cost humanity over $11 trillion. $11 trillion. Imagine if we put all that money for the revolution against aging and death. So join the revolution, join us, because this is a revolution. This is us against death. Because if we don't stop death, death will kill us. Thank you very much.